Welcome back to the channel, everyone. In the last couple of days I had some meaningful conversations with other traders regarding is the top in for BTC or not, and I'm going to show you why the top most likely is in. However, I am missing a few ingredients that go along with usually topping signs in the crypto market, and I'm going to show you exactly what I mean. If you like the content, please do me a favor, like, subscribe, click on the bell, click on all so you don't miss anything. Leave me a comment and share this video with your friends if you think that's useful. Without further ado, let's start diving in. This is BTC on the weekly, and I'm going to keep it very clean here on the chart. As you can see, we had a absolute confirmed SFP of the highs here a couple weeks ago. I'm zooming in here because I want to make sure that you can see it if you're watching this on mobile. And there you can see absolute confirmed SFP on the weekly, and eventually we're also going down. If I'm then looking at the daily, and also mentioned this in yesterday's update, is that now for the first time we have a very much confirmed bearish market structure. So I'm going to draw it out for you. You're making here a high, then you are making a higher low, then you have here your SFP, which is not a higher high because it is an SFP, obviously, and then you have here your first lower low, and now you have made your first lower high, and it looks like we are on our way to create our second lower low again. This on the daily and itself is very bearish. Also, if I take this off price, you can see it. This is just absolute a break of market structure, and this in itself is super bearish, definitely because it is on the daily. I just want to show you this price action right here, this range that we had before we created a new all-time high. Here we had no change of market structure on the daily. I have seen a couple of people screaming that, but this is not confirmed because you have here your price, you're making a low here, then of course you have your higher high. This is an SFP of this low, so not a confirmed change of market structure, and then here exactly the same, again an SFP of that low. Yes, this is a lower high, but because the bottom is 2 times an SFP, it is not a confirmed change of market structure, and of course after that you're just pumping higher, and we are creating a new all-time high. So this range that we have right here is absolutely different than the range that we are trading right now, and the one that we are trading right now is a heck of a lot more bearish than the one that we had previously. Another couple things that are concerning me, and then I'm now looking again here at the weekly, is the way we are topping out here at the highs. Because if I measure from the absolute bear market bottom to this big top that we're having right here, you can see the price is pumping at and around 300%, quite a lot. Then if I'm looking at this area right here, you can see the price pumped at and around 90%, and then this area right here from this bottom to this top is at and around 50%. In other words, price is having a harder and harder time to create bigger and more significant tops than the previous one. So this in itself is already a sign of exhaustion, and this is something that we absolutely need to take in account. On top of that, on the weekly, and I'm now looking here at market Cipher B, we have a full-on confirmed bearish divergence which is already playing out. You can see here the momentum wave is making a lower high, and here on the price we made a higher high. That in itself is a bearish divergence. Also on the money flow, you can see here that the second top was a lower high than this one right here. Why is this important? Not only is this very bearish, but if I'm then going back to the previous top of the previous bull run, we saw exactly the same here on the weekly. Look at this. Price made a ever so slightly higher high, and on the momentum wave we already made a lower high here on the weekly, and also money flow already also made a lower high. So this in itself on market Cipher B looks identical of what we have seen in the previous bull run. Now that does not mean it is confirmed now we're absolutely dumping to zero. The topping and bottoming is always a process and never a event. Yeah, so it takes a little bit of time for price eventually to top out and also to bottom out. I'm going to show you this here on the daily, because if I'm now going back here to the previous bull run, you can see here on the daily that this whole top right here took approximately 85, 90 days, so at and around 3 months. And you can see also that the tops were ever so slightly higher from each other, and eventually you made that lower high and then you're rolling over. So I think that we are in somewhat of a price structure that we are seeing right here. And of course after that we had this ever so slightly higher high, and then eventually we dumped down. But this, what I'm seeing right here, looks a little bit of the current price action that we are in. So what I am actually expecting is the following. Assuming that the high is in and it was completely confirmed, because we're seeing it on the indicators, we're seeing it in market structure that has changed, we're seeing it in the range of price, that I'm expecting something like this, where price eventually is coming lower. Then we are seeing another move up. We might take out this high and then eventually rolling over. So this high that we created here with this S&P 124,000 is the top of the bull market, and that one stays untouched. And then eventually we are rolling over. Something like this is what I'm kind of now looking for and expecting, that you have eventually this huge topping formation and then eventually you're rolling over. So we might still have some weeks, but this is kind of what I'm looking at. This top, I have to say, I'm not 100% convinced. Maybe we do this, or maybe we eventually do this to make again a lower high. I'm not completely sure, but that is at least what I'm looking for in the next couple of weeks. Then let's quickly look at ETH. I have to say, so far it has been quite underwhelming. I expected a heck of a lot more for ETH during this bull run. Here we have actually seen pretty much the exact same, and that is a ever so slightly S&P higher high of the previous bull run, right? That was 4,800 and a bit, and now we are coming down. I actually expected price to go much higher. I also drew in a negative fib, and there you can see that we have a negative fib at 7,300, and then the next one is 11,300. When we were coming up and pumping up here, I actually was quite confident that we will get at least the first negative fib and maybe even the second one. But yeah, now again it's just slowing pace tremendously. And yeah, I think now we need to be happy if we can see 7,300 in the next couple of weeks. So once BTC is then creating that next leg up, where we might take out the previous high but not the all-time high, I hope ETH can do something like this. We are eventually creating one more higher high and then to roll over. If not, again, it will be tremendously underwhelming. I also have to say right here, whoops, right here on MarketCypher, ETH is also already creating and confirming bearish divergences on the weekly. You can see here money flow is also coming down, momentum waves are coming down. So yeah, this actually doesn't look all too pretty, and of course parallel to this we have barely seen a full-on altcoin season. Yes, some of the altcoins had their run, but so far it actually has been tremendously underwhelming, so I'm hoping that we still get another leg up. But yeah, so far, if I'm just looking at the 4-year cycle, we are running out of time. Now, very important, there are a couple of things that I'm missing for this to be the top. And I'm talking about BTC, talking about ETH, talking about the alts. Because if we're looking here at fear and greed index right now, because of course we're also dumping, we are at 28. But in the last couple of weeks here in July, you can see that the fear and greed index was somewhat elevated, 60, 70, but nothing too crazy. And now in the last couple of weeks, we're really coming down. That does not look like an absolute top, because the top is usually euphoric. And if I'm then zooming out here to, let's say, the max, then you can see here in December 2020 that we were having a fear and greed index of over 90, 95, and everyone was super euphoric. Even here in November in 2024, when price was pumping, you can see that we even hit 94 on the fear and greed index. So extreme greed in the market. And since we are now underneath 50, so underneath the average, it doesn't really match with having a top in and the markets being euphoric. It's the actually opposite. Also, if I'm looking here at the search terms for Bitcoin, and now here you see a chart, the white line is the price of Bitcoin and the orange line is the amount of search terms for the price of Bitcoin, you can see that we are making this huge nosedive down. And right here the top was at the search term of 51, 100 is max, 50 is then of course the average, and then yeah, the lower you go, the less there is interest on the internet for the word Bitcoin. You can see we were trading 114k and we hit 51. However, here when the Google Trends hit 100, so the max, then you can see the price was trading at 80,000. That actually is very strange, because that means that at a lower price there was more interest on the internet for the word Bitcoin than it is right now. So actually I also expected here to be the search term much higher, at least at around 80 or 85 or 90 before eventually you're topping out. Last but not least is then the ETF inflow, of course, when everyone is looking at that. That is so important, this bull run, because institutions are boarding right now. Everyone would say, yeah, institutions will never let price drop down that much. I think absolute BS. Also, Michael Saylor has been underwater already multiple times in the last couple of years. So everyone who said Michael Saylor would never let the price go underneath his average buying price, I think is wrong. Price is price, it does what it does, and institutions can also dump their ETFs and therefore Bitcoin, and then you will see price going down. This right now, what you're seeing here, is the average inflow and outflow, and this is all of the ETFs. So all of everything that you see here, all the big boys are in here. Meaning, if you see a green candle, there is a net inflow for that day. If you see a red candle, there is a net outflow for that day. So far, there is still a much stronger inflow than there is an outflow. The thing that would concern me is if you would see a lot of red candles, but price stays elevated. That means that retail is holding the bag, and that could be a topping sign. But for now, I'm still seeing a lot of green, somewhat red, a lot of green, somewhat red. So nothing too crazy here on the ETF. So also here, I would say the institutions might be selling somewhat, but not crazy. So therefore, I'm saying the soft factors of the fear and greed index, the Google Trends and the ETFs are not screaming to me that the top is in. So therefore, I'm staying a little bit cautious. But of course, the price and the chart are saying that the top might be in. Guys, please let me know what you think in the comments. Do you think the top is in for BTC? Do you think the top is in for ETH maybe? Or are we still seeing this altcoin run, and will BTC go absolutely flat? Please, please, please do me a favor. Let me know in the comments. When you're down there anyways, also make sure that you like, subscribe, click on the bell, click on all so you don't miss anything. Leave me a comment and share this video with your friends if you think that's useful. Thank you guys so much. See you in the next one. Bye bye.